I think I did it. I think we solved the problems. I think we did it. It looks like we did it. It seems to me that we did it. So good, 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 great. Okay. Hmm. All right. Hello, friends. We're gonna do a Smarty Pants McGee thing because Dune's a complicated movie. Dune Part Two. And what we're gonna do is clickety click clack our way to the plot web page on the internet so that we can check back in to see what the plot of the movie is, because inevitably we're going to get lost. We do it every time, and I'd rather be able to just like quick click, know what's going on, just sort of figure it out. There's Audacity, great. There, that's fine. This movie came out in February, and I haven't even seen it until now. That's crazy. That is crazy. It made 710 million at the box office. Oh my god. That's outrageous. 710 million at the box office. Pretty good. Pretty good. Man, wish I made 710 million at the box office. That'd be nice. Dakin. Okay. Oh, merely waiting, but we won't have to wait much longer. Oh, hello. You're here.
I am here. Not often that you start without me.
It's true.
Uh, did you text Bree?
Yeah, they're
Busy.
foolishly at their friend's house playing cards.
On the movie they voted for. Weird.
He was like, I thought you guys were going to do it tomorrow.
Oh. I mean, you can watch it whenever, so.
He said, I know, but we like seeing it live the best.
And you get more engagement when it's live, I will say.
It's true.
You can be part of the show.
Makes you feel like you're a part of it.
Alrighty. Well, no time like what the fuck is happening?
What the fuck is happening is I have to plot up so we can check in case we get fucked up.
Why not do it on our phones like we do it every other time?
Because this is easier to read.
Yeah, that big wall of text is the same there as it would be here.
That's everything you said is wrong.
Everything I said is
Everything
wrong?
you said is wrong.
Alrighty, well, you ready to get started?
Get my notes up.
I need to get my notes up too. I am not ready. Giving you shit.
Okay.
Giving you shit, and I'm not even.
Shame. Shame on you.
Alright. I have so many notes.
Yeah, you took a lot more notes than I did, and I said I was going to take the lead more on this one, but you took
I have
way
a lot
more
of
notes.
questions.
All right, I'll do my best to answer what I can.
Most of this is gonna be me asking questions.
Okay.
All right,
well,
here.
let's get into it.
Let's just go. 3, 2, 1.
The spice melange. Oh, that doesn't seem good.
The recording's not working.
Oh dear.
You could just select a new. You could just start a new thing. All the technical problems. Sounds like the sandworms.
Why are you not working?
It's a great question. Maybe we will be recording tomorrow.
Fuck's sakes.
Mike's working over there. I know. I heard you. So.
Well, okay. Sure.
Maybe when you changed the camera, it made Audacity act weird.
I don't know. I'm not in charge. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Had about enough of the fucking technical problems here.
I was gonna ask if you were just gonna recreate your original intro,
No,
or
I
if
don't.
we were gonna do something else.
No, I don't have the patience. Starting to get cranky.
Starting to get cranky. Our
Starting to get
camera wasn't working.
The microphone didn't work. Nothing worked. I want to throw the whole computer at the wall. Starting to get frustrated.
This is what happens when we only stream like once every 2 weeks. Is our system gets a little wonky when we don't use it consistently.
Okay, welcome to CityWavesCinema. I'm James. That's America. This is Dune Part 2, Part 1. Because you'll listen to Part 2 later.
This is getting as complicated as when we did like the Deathly Hallows Part 1, Part 2. Like,
yeah, because when you do stupid fucking split movies, then you ruin everything. These filmmakers are disrespectful to small-time content creators like us.
To be fair, I don't think you could wrap the Dune story into one movie. It's confusing enough.
I don't think you could do it in two, really.
You can't, because they're still going.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's confusing enough without trying to split it up more. So I don't think this is a movie that you could do multiple parts of, for sure.
All right, so you want to run it down from the top and just see where we go from there?
The top of the movie is a line about spice being like the most powerful thing.
Yes.
And it actually came before the logos.
It did. And they did the weird super low voice that it sounded like a monster a little bit. Kind of like that.
Yeah. So I wrote spice is more powerful than the media giants, apparently.
I mean, Dune is kind of this like Titanic of sci-fi. It's this enormous. Titanic's a bad parallel. It's this enormous.
It was like the ship that sinks.
Right. It's this enormous sort of sci-fi universe that came before the legendary things like Star Wars, Star Trek. It's just this whole huge deal that we don't really. I feel like we growing up didn't really get a lot of Dune because the world was overshadowed by the Star Wars and the Star Treks and
the Harry Potter, the Lord of the Rings,
the Doctor Who, the others. No, Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings are not sci-fi.
Oh,
fantasy.
I thought we were just talking about stories that are similar or or that were largely ingrained in our childhood. I didn't realize we were just going for.
Yeah, I'm leaning hard into just sci-fi.
Okay, then yeah, Star Wars and Star Trek are.
It's kind of like the Titans. You know?
Yeah, that's really the only sci-fi I know about, and to me this doesn't even feel sci-fi.
Really?
Yeah.
In spite of it being like the earliest days of sci-fi.
I guess in my sci-fi I imagine more space, and there's just planet, and it's desert, and there's just sand.
There's so much space travel that happens. Everyone travels through space.
Except you don't really see it. You don't see the stars or the like galaxy. You just see sand and inside of buildings, I guess, which are ships and sand.
All right, so episode 4, A New Hope, in which it is mostly planet, sand, and the inside of buildings, i.e. ships. But you just like not sci-fi then?
You get like wide shots of like the outside of the ships to tell you that you're in space.
All right, well, the story that we're following doesn't happen in space. It happens on a planet.
That's why it doesn't feel sci-fi to me.
Where the fuel for all the space goes.
You know what else doesn't feel like sci-fi?
What?
Subnautica. But it's strictly about another planet and like...
Yeah, it's a sci-fi game.
Yeah.
Science fiction.
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't feel like it. Feels like ocean.
I feel like you have this vendetta against Dune. And I can't understand why you have this vendetta against Dune. To me, when it was suggested, it was just like this funky old sci-fi thing I had never heard of before. And then we recorded the episode and we actually just listened to part of our first episode to sort of recap what we talked about last time.
There's a lot of me bitching
And
about Zendaya.
it was a lot of, I mean, like an exorbitant amount of bitching about Zendaya when she puts on a tremendous performance in both movies.
I have learned a new respect for Zendaya. I still don't like her. I still think she's a bitch. But I have learned a new respect for her as an actor after watching some of Euphoria. So I will keep my Zendaya bashing to a minimal. I think I have one Zendaya bashing comment in my notes.
That seems even unnecessary. She does a great job in this movie. Just terrific acting. Actually, I thought everyone acted their asses off in this movie.
I know you kept saying it repeatedly. James gushed about this movie for so long.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah, it's a movie.
Jesus Christ.
No, okay, here's the thing. The special effects are great.
Uh-huh.
The acting's pretty good.
Uh-huh.
The cinematography work is one of the best I've seen in a while.
Mm.
I have a lot of issues with the story. And that's kind of where I fall off, is because following this plot, especially this one, and I have more complaints about this one than the last one, because there was no way to keep track of time or when things were happening, and time would just jump forward without, like, any semblance of a transition. You'd just go from, like, one event to, like, 6 months later with no explanation.
On the bright side, you don't go back in time, so at least everything is a linear progression. We're constantly moving forward rather than moving forward and then doubling back on something and then moving forward. At least in this movie, it's just a continual progression. And there's a subtle way to keep track of time in that the princess, daughter of the emperor, is keeping a diary, basically.
She talks twice!
Well, she mentions dates, so you're able to sort of, like, piece together when stuff happens.
Oh, yes. From that first thing, which I have, that is my second note, is this is not a Zendaya exposition bot.
No, it's a Florence Pugh exposition.
To the second one that she does, like, halfway through the movie.
Right.
Yes, I guess you could keep time. I thought you were going to say gestation period with how you were keeping track of time, which is about the only way.
That's another way you can, yeah.
The only way I kept track of how many months or weeks had gone by is by how big the child in the womb was.
Yeah, that whole thing is very strange, but it's sci-fi, so I'm not going to complain about it, really.
That seems more magic than sci-fi.
I've seen lots of strange shit. Well, there's actually an explanation in this plot that we have pulled up on the side that explains why some of that happens, which is helpful. Because now, the caveat for Dune. The caveat for Dune is, if you haven't read the book, it's confusing.
At best.
There's stuff that happens that you don't necessarily understand. And there's context for stuff that happens that is not shown. And I don't think that, I mean, the movie's 3 hours. I don't think you could make it longer and add the context. Like, I think it's as good as it can be.
I would like this to be a TV show almost, because I feel like you could break it down better.
Potentially. I don't know. Adapting novels is already hard. Adapting 65-year-old sci-fi novels cannot be much easier, I imagine. But anyways, we pick up sort of close to where we left off at the last movie, which is Paul and his mother have escaped the Harkonnens and their brutal murder of
we also find out that Christopher Walken is the Emperor.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Christopher Walken is the Emperor, and that's reason enough for everyone to watch this movie, I believe.
I found out that I have been wrong. Surprisingly. Not surprised. No one's surprised. I was wrong, because I thought the bald floating man was the Emperor.
Your confusion about who was who is... it's really funny to me, because stereotypically, I'm the one with the bad memory. But we got into the second movie, and you were like, I don't know who any of these people are.
Listen, it's been a while. I watched a cram it, and I still am confused about this movie. And you're right, I have a good memory, and it holds things in there forever, but because I have so much confusion surrounding the first one that I didn't, to this day, still get explanation for, I have double the confusion about this movie because I still have questions about the first movie, and now I just have more questions. And also, we listened back to our podcast, and James had a cough.
Yep, and I have a cough now. It's
for
ridiculous.
The first Dune, and James has a cough again for the second Dune. So,
life happens in circles. So we meet,
and the sound mix is bad in this one at the beginning too. I don't know what it is about them in the sound mix. That's all.
I didn't have as much of an issue with this one as I did with the first one.
It was only rough, like, literally right at the beginning where I was like, can't hear. And then it was like loud sound effects again. And it kind of, again, it balanced out. I don't know. And maybe because it's happened twice and it's only at the beginning, it's like an artistic choice to like jar you into the universe. I don't know, but
interesting theory.
Well, now it's happened twice and in the same part of the movie. Or maybe you just adapt to it the longer the movie goes on and you don't notice it.
Could be.
I don't know. But I did make a note about it because it was, again, and I probably wouldn't have made a note about it if we hadn't listened to our first podcast episode.
That's fair. So we find out Christopher Walken's the Emperor. Very funny. And he doesn't change his voice at all. It's just Christopher Walken got to set and they were like, these are your lines. And he was like, who am I? And they said, Christopher Walken. And he was like, okay. And then he did his job.
And we also learned that Paul can talk to the fetus telepathically.
No, Paul cannot talk to the fetus.
Paul was talking to the fetus at the beginning of the movie.
Paul was, he did like some narration type shit where he like did a speech to his sister, who we find out exists in this movie. That's special. And it shows her, and it shows him talking to her, and that's kind of the start of their weird space-time continuum communication. I don't like it. The whole baby talks through the womb telepathically is weird. That gets explained in the plot here, where it's because I shouldn't need a wiki to understand the movie. I sound like you. I fucking sound like you when we watched Harry Potter. You're like, I shouldn't need to read the books to understand the story. I shouldn't need the wiki to understand the fucking plot. In that aspect, Dune 1 and Dune 2 as movies are on par with the Harry Potter movies, except that the Dune movies have the runtime to give more detail about stuff. Dude, look, I've read some of the Harry Potter, and the Harry Potter movies do a piss poor job of doing anything but major plot in the Harry Potter books. The Dune movies do a little bit better job of doing more than just the major plot points. You're wrong. You're wrong. Okay. Because if you've never read Harry Potter, you can watch the Harry Potters and know what's fucking going on. You can tell the story from beginning to end. Here's the really fascinating thing. You're correct. I can watch Dune 1 and 2 and know what's going on. And it astounds me that there's not a portion of your mind that can suspend disbelief and do that. It's not that I can't suspend disbelief, because I said it in the first one and I said it in this one. I like these movies. They're not bad movies. Mm. I just am confused the entire time. And nothing gets explained. Nothing gets clarified. And you're just supposed to come in with this huge fucking giant lexicon of lore from the fucking 60s to now and figure it all out. You shouldn't have to do that for a movie. You shouldn't have to do that for a movie. And I hate saying it because it makes me sound like you every time we watch a movie. I guess for me... You also said in the first episode, and again, I only know this because we listened to it. They don't explain shit. You had to do a bunch of research while you were watching the first one
so that you could be prepared for the podcast.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I watched the first movie before we ever watched it for the show. And then when we rewatched it, I was able to enjoy it more. But because I watched it on my own, there was enough it gave me enough questions that I was like, I want to learn more about what all that shit is.
See, I
So
didn't do that.
I went and learned more about what all that shit is. Now, an interesting sort of like comparison here is that Dune made me want to go not necessarily read the books, but like read up on the lore of the movies more so I could understand more of what's going on. Because I think this is a set of movies that is fan service, and I think it's for the classic Dune fans. And in that regard, I think it does a really good job, and everyone who's read the book or seen the original movie likes these movies. Outside of that, I think it does a pretty middling job of creating a sci-fi universe that hooks you and makes you want to do more. And I think I just got lucky that it hooked me and made me want to look into it more. That being said, once again, it's middling. I don't think it's a very good example of a standalone sci-fi movie. However, if you hold it up to predecessors like Star Wars A New Hope, there wasn't a book for Star Wars A New Hope. That was just it. Everything that was in there was in there. And you're left with the exact same amount of questions about what the fuck any of this fucking shit is.
I was about to say, also, to be fair, I had the experience of being born later, so I got to watch the prequels first and then watch the other ones.
That's how you watch the movies?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I wasn't okay. First of all, I didn't care for sci-fi as a kid, and I'm still not.
I'm not sure you care for sci-fi now.
I was about to say, and to be fair, still not a huge fan of sci-fi. So like, I more watched the Star Wars movies like you watched the Harry Potter movies. Like, they were either on sometimes in the background, and I caught bits and pieces, and then eventually I was forced to watch them because my family wanted to go. I went to the final prequel in the trilogy, so whichever one that is. See, not a big fan. I went to the premiere. I went to the midnight premiere of that fucking movie. And I will say, Star Wars is another example of you need to have like this gigantic lexicon of knowledge to enjoy half of it, especially the original trilogy, because it starts in the middle of the fucking story. Like, you start
4, 5, and 6?
Yes.
Well, okay. No.
Oh my god.
We're not gonna fucking argue about Star Wars on the episode about Dune, but you're just out the gate wrong about that. Anyways, in Dune,
no. Why am I wrong?
George Lucas didn't write episodes 4, 5, and 6 as episodes 4, 5, and 6. He wrote them as Star Wars: A New Hope, Star Wars the next one, and then Star Wars the final one.
And they're still confusing as fuck.
And then they were like, we'd like more money, please. And he was like, oh, I could do it again. And so he did it again, but worse. And it made it more confusing because he changed up the way things work doing a prequel trilogy. Now, you're still left with questions if you just watch 4, 5, and 6 in that order. But it's not like it's not a confusing deep story. It's a very simple story. And you have to look at it as a simplistic, like very basic story because that's how it was written. It's like doing literary analysis of ancient works. It's like doing literary analysis of fucking, I don't know, just some really silly fucking novels.
I was really just like, name any book, James, any novel that's a classical period.
I don't know.
Novel.
I went straight back to Shakespeare, but he was one of the good writers.
I was like,
that was not a good example.
Not all of them. There are some Shakespeare works that it's like,
very basic.
Not even basic. That's just hard to follow. Like Beth is one that you're like, what? For most of it. So, all right.
There needs to be credence given to authors who write shit without thinking in terms of literary analysis, because that's how people write books. They don't think, oh, are people gonna like analyze what the color of the silverware on the table is gonna be? No, no one gives a fuck about that until you get to grad school. And then people give way too much of a fuck about that. The same principles should be applied to movies, especially sci-fi movies, because you're making shit up. It goes the same for fantasy movies.
I don't have this issue with fantasy movies, though.
I have this issue with every Lord of the Rings movie. Why is anything like this? And in order to understand Lord of the Rings movies, you know what you need to go and goddamn do? You need to go and goddamn read everything in order to understand the backstory of anything.
I haven't read a single Lord of the Rings book. I read The Hobbit, but I have not read a single Lord of the Rings book, and I can tell you what happens.
I can tell you what happens in Dune.
Well, let's talk about that, because that's what we're here to talk about.
It's been 20 minutes and we haven't talked about Dune yet.
Well, we talked about the Emperor is Christopher Walken, and
the Emperor is Christopher Walken. That's all you need. End the show. Fuck it. We're done. It's Christopher Walken.
The baby in the womb is semi-telepathic.
That happens because she drinks the poison.
It happened before then. Ish.
It happened before then, and then she drinks the poison, and then it happens a lot.
Yeah, then she like...
It like really revs up.
Gets superpowers.
It's like they gave that baby cocaine.
Her and Renesmee would be great friends.
Fucking creepy ass motherfucker.
They're both creepy ass motherfuckers who can communicate telepathically.
No one's saying it's not. But I'll tell you what, they wrote that creepy ass motherfucker a long time before what's her fuck ass wrote the other creepy ass baby.
I wonder if she got some inspiration. Probably not.
Probably not. If she had read Dune, she might have written better books.
If she had read Dune, she probably would be excommunicated from Mormonism. I don't know.
Probably. So, having picked up with the Emperor and his daughter, we find that the Emperor's daughter is a princess, and she is keeping sort of a... It's not a video diary, because they're not doing video, but it's like a diary, basically.
A historical log.
Yeah, a historical log. Detailing her father's war crimes, which is something I found to be very interesting.
It's probably something that the Black Nun cult makes her do.
Probably. She was just airing out all the dirty laundry on record.
I also need to put on record that I will not be referring to the real names of probably many of the groups of people in the show. They all just have nicknames, like Black Nun Cult.
That's the Bene Gesserit.
And the Bald Naked Cult.
That's the Harkonnens. That's just a people. That's just that's those people.
They have cult-like tendencies too. Doing weird painting on the bodies and such.
Well, you know, if we shaved Paul, he would look like them. He's also a Harkonnen, so that makes it easier.
Spoiler alert!
If they're listening to this show and they haven't seen the movie, they done fucked up. This is not a good place to go to if you haven't already seen the film.
If you're new here, this is just all spoilers the entire time. Okay. So after we get the little space log and we find out that she's kind of pissed at her dad for
killing off all of House Atreides.
We jump back to Paul and his mom and
the Fremen,
the fetus.
Jesus Christ.
And they are being stalked by
the Sardaukar warriors.
And all of the Fremen fuck off and they tell Paul and his mom,
stay here,
which is not a good plan. But
yeah, in one of the few examples of cinema history, the command to stay here did not result in safety. Whereas in a lot of things, if someone tells someone to stay here and they do stay there, they would have been fine. In this instance, if Paul and his mother had stayed where they were told to, they would have been killed very quickly.
They also are not good sand ninjas and made it very clear where they fucked off to when they scrambled away because they're not used to crawling around in the sand yet.
They weren't official Fremen yet.
No, and they can't sandwalk worth shit.
That's true.
So,
by the way, just in this scene, something I made a note of. I really like the way these Dune movies do jetpacks / floating. Like, it's a very simple, non-flashy, quiet technology, and you've never seen it ever before. Like, it's terrific.
I had a note about that. I said, ooh, fancy sand suits. And then I asked, could the ones that Paul and his family had, could those ones fly?
I don't know. No, they're sand suits? No, they could not fly.
Okay.
That's sort of a Sardaukar thing. Which the Sardaukar are the Emperor's personal army.
And the Sardaukar are there helping the
Harkonnens.
The bald cult.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yep.
I also made a note that Paul's stealth stat is low, but his strength and agility are high, because once they get caught hiding, because eventually they run away. The Fremen call the sandworms. The
Fremen then murder everybody.
Yeah, the Emperor's soldiers get run away, get taken out by the Fremen, except for like 2 of them, one of which Paul fucking fights once they get discovered.
It's kind of barely a fight.
Yeah, Paul just kind of like kills him.
He smokes that guy.
And then the other one, Paul's mom knocks unconscious.
And then beats to death with a rock.
Yes. So Paul's stealth stat is low, but his strength and agility are high. And then I had another question.
All right, what's your question?
I thought, because it wasn't explained in the first one, when they were talking about like the life water.
Yeah.
Because like they were like talking about how they wanted to kill Paul and his mom for their life water.
Yes.
I thought they were referring to blood this whole time, and they were not. They were referring to like the actual water inside the body.
Yes, bearing in mind that the human body is 70% water.
Okay. I just, it took me by surprise when they started harvesting it from all the soldiers. And I was like, oh, it's not blood. It's legitimately...
It's water.
Water.
Yep, they're harvesting water.
And then the leader guy gets mad at Paul's mom for throwing up.
Yes. Which
also, she's pregnant. Leave her the fuck alone. Second of all, is it because she's expelling, like, water? Like, she's wasting water?
Yes, for the religious fanatic variety of Fremen, it appears to be, anyways, a great sort of problem to expel water in any way.
Like tears,
yeah, like tears.
Or...
And their suits, the still suits, recollect your sweat and recycle it. Like, filter it, make it a drinkable thing. But to cry, also a problem. You can see that later when she sheds a tear and he takes it and consumes it. So to throw up is to, like, lose moisture from your body. And that's something they wanted to not have happen, because it's a sacramental thing, but also, having lived decades and decades and decades in the desert, it's a survival thing. Like, you throw up, you are asking to die in the desert.
So they're harvesting the life water from the soldiers.
Yep.
And then it was a weird, like, blink and you miss it moment, but it was something else that I caught. There was like a weird video game bubble noise while they were harvesting the water, and it didn't happen ever again, and I thought I hallucinated briefly.
I didn't catch it, so maybe you did.
But it went, like, I was like, what the, like, it literally broke me out of, like...
I think you might have lost your mind.
Everything. I was so confused. So if anyone out there listening, watching right now, has an answer, I would love to know. And then we jump from the Fremen to, I'm assuming it's a spaceship, because James said that they were on spaceships, but maybe it's not a spaceship. I wrote Cerebro, but this is where we go back to the...
Is it the Harkonnens and
in, like, their war room?
Dave Bautista smashes that guy's head against the thing? My note for that scene was that Dave Bautista is a really good actor.
I wrote Cerebro, and then I said Big Bald Baby had a temper tantrum.
That is correct, technically.
Because they are trying to gain control of the spice, and the Fremen are kind of fucking their shit up.
Yes.
And he's gonna get in trouble with his uncle, is basically what I took away from that scene.
Good job. You're right on there with it.
And then we jump back to the Fremen. Big Bald Baby had a temper tantrum, and then we're back to the Fremen.
Yep, we're just checking off plot points. So the Fremen take the gang to siege Tabir. Tabir or Tabir?
You're
I don't remember.
asking the wrong person.
Takes him to the siege, which is there
The
in the
sacred
rocks.
city.
Yeah, it's in the rock city. Some of the Fremen suspect that Paul and his mother are spies. Stilgar argues with people that he still sees the signs. The council there sort of like makes fun of him for that.
It's a lot, and I can't tell if it's racist or not when they're walking like through the crowd of everybody, and everybody's like, half of them are like worshiping him, and the other half are like angry that he exists for most of that scene.
I don't think it's like so much of a racist thing as it is like you're an outsider, you don't belong here.
Okay,
So
it's not because they're not Fremen.
No, well, it is because they're not Fremen, but it doesn't matter who he is. It's because he's not Fremen.
Okay.
The fact that he's Paul is irrelevant.
Paul makes a statement while the dude argues with the council about whether or not they should get to stay. That, and this is just to his mom and the child that can apparently hear and understand everything inside the womb, that I only know because she references it later, the child, that he needs to convince all the non-believers that he is the chosen one. And can I just say, Paul does a really bad job at doing that for like the rest of the fucking movie. He makes one note about it at the beginning. He's like, I need to convince all these non-believers that I'm the chosen one. Otherwise, like, our plans are fucked. And then he proceeds to go around just saying, like, absolutely denying he's the chosen one to every single person he meets.
Now, that can be interpreted in two ways. One, either he's a mega genius and he's denying being the chosen one, which would only
reaffirm.
It would only dump fuel on the fire of the most religious zealots, right? Or he's so angry. I have like 3 different notes about how angry Paul is at different points in the movie, because he, at the end of Dune Part 1, his mother goes to give him a hug while they're hiding out in a tent in the sand, having their whole family just been murdered. And he uses the voice on her and screams at her because her little religious cult made him like this. And he never asked for that. He didn't want this. So I think the sort of true nature of it is that he didn't ever want to be a chosen one. He doesn't necessarily believe in the Bene Gesserit prophecy or whatever that shit is. But he, at the very least in the start of the movie, is one-track mind. Everyone who had a hand in the death of my father is gonna get it. And so from there, he's just plotting and plotting and plotting and plotting. And part of that could include diving into the prophecy in order to get all the zealot figures on his side.
Okay.
Because he hates the Bene Gesserit.
Yeah.
He hates them maybe more than anyone except Baron Harkonnen. He hates them.
Yeah. Of anyone, I think he would like to see them all burn. But okay. So,
and it's such a great conflict too, because he loves his mother, because it's his mother. He hates what she's done to him because it's given him this burden he doesn't want.
Yes.
It's made his life difficult, complicated, and in a roundabout way, it's resulted in the death of everyone he knows and loves, except her.
Yes.
Which is just such a mind fuck for him, because he loves her, but also, if he really thought about it for another minute or two, he could kill her if he wanted to.
Yes. They go through a ritual. The Fremen go through a ritual of
replacing their Reverend Mother.
I wasn't going to do that.
Oh,
I'm talking about how they
how they take Jameis's water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which led me to another question of how do they get the water out but not the blood?
Secret sci-fi technology.
Got it. Cool.
Why is the TARDIS bigger on the inside? Fucking never explained. Doctor Who's been on the air for 60 fucking years. They never said why. They're just like, it's Time Lord shit. This is just sci-fi shit.
The TARDIS is bigger on the inside because it's a space outside of the space-time continuum. It's an entity outside of the space-time continuum.
Right. That's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy.
Whereas
the words you're saying right now are fucking crazy.
The phone booth, the representation of the TARDIS, is an actual location inside, like, the space-time continuum, whereas the TARDIS exists outside.
Did you know the color purple doesn't exist?
It's kind of like Hal's Castle in Hal's Moving Castle, where it's like, it has physical locations, but the actual castle is not in any of those locations.
Okay, what you said is crazy, and what happened in the movie is they put these funky little prop suction things on the dead body, and it sucked up all his moisture.
Which I hated, by the way. I hated it how it just, the body just went, and I was like, ugh, it made me feel really uncomfortable. And then the guy...
There's a lot of this movie that you just have to be like, that's some sci-fi bullshit.
The guy, the leader guy goes back and gets Paul's mom and takes her
to the holy water
and shows her the sacred pool that we do not drink.
Yes.
Because it's special water.
It's special. It's body water.
The souls of their people, basically, is the explanation of it.
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand. But also, you live in the desert, and that's a giant pool of water. Yeah,
it was one of those things where, like, earlier in the movie, when they were like, don't throw up, you waste your water, I was like, that's such great portrayal of a survival thing. Like, don't lose your water. Don't. And then you go to the holy city, and there's this giant pool of gallons and gallons and gallons of pure, clean water. And I'm like, the blend of religious fanaticism with the survivalist portion of the Fremen is so muddy and fucked, because it's like, that's a surplus of survival juice that you have. And
they can't drink,
and you can't do anything with it.
They can't drink water from other bodies like the soldiers because it's too full of chemicals. So where are you guys getting your water? Because he makes a point.
It just recycles.
Okay.
They've got the sci-fi bullshit to make all the sweat, piss, and whatever drinkable, recyclable water.
Eventually, though, because it gets diluted every time, because you have to filter it out.
Unless there's sci-fi bullshit to purify without losing volume.
Anyways,
it's sci-fi, dude. They can do bullshit and make it up.
Giant pool of water we can't drink.
Yep.
My exact note was, so we don't drink the whole pool of water because religion. Correct. And I just moved on. And then we get
a different ritual.
We get a different part of the religion where he's like, you can either die or become our Reverend Mother.
And she's like, fucking fine.
She was like, well, I guess that's happening now. So they go and do this weird ritual in a cave. And Paul and his mom talk about it before they go. And this is my next question.
Okay.
So is he or is he not the chosen one? Question mark.
Mm-hmm.
And is it propaganda or is it like a real thing, like the chosen one?
Now, this is just my interpretation.
Okay.
Because I have not read the books, so I cannot tell you definitively if there is a prophecy that is truth.
Okay.
What I see is a piece of art that demonstrates that to someone who is believing in the prophecy, it can only be true. To someone who does not believe in the prophecy, he's just a bad motherfucker who's very clever. And both things can be true, but it's too sides of the same coin. Is the prophecy true? Do you believe in the prophecy? Yes, then it's true. Do you not believe in the prophecy? Then why do you care? He's just a badass.
I guess my question was and it kind of became somewhat clearer as the movie went on that the Black Nun cult.
Yes, the Bene Gesserit.
I almost said Jezebels, and I knew that wasn't right.
I mean, it's kind of like that. It's a cult of people who fuck.
The Black Nun cult kind of admitted to and or implied that they infused that culture with this prophecy story.
Yes.
To try to control the Fremen.
That is true, and there is an arc of story here where the Bene Gesserit have also been participating in selective breeding to try to create a chosen one of their own prophecies that they believe. And they're utilizing the prophecies that they believe in to manipulate populaces around the galaxy in order to best find the genes that would get them their chosen one.
And it's decidedly canon in their story that Paul is not their chosen one.
That's, in my opinion, sticky. Because there's a great, like, Paul's mom gets a slap on the wrist for having a male heir too soon. If I remember correctly, when I read through sort of the Bene Gesserit and what their shtick is, there's a time frame where the chosen one is supposed to be born, and in theory, Jessica, his mother, has a male heir too soon due to hubris that she's going to be the one to have the chosen one. That's what the head Reverend Mother believes, I think. Now, I haven't read all the books, but based on the two movies, you can totally buy into the idea that Paul is just the chosen one of the Fremen's tweaked prophecy. But the way I like to look at it is he either is this ultra powerful chosen one because the Bene Gesserit did weird DNA shit and now he has access to the voice and he can manipulate and he is this cult of personality, or he's just a badass motherfucker. And I like the idea that you can be two things. So he is two things.
Okay, so we go to the ritual.
Yeah. Where Jessica has to drink the poison.
And apparently the poison will kill men if they drink it, because in this universe, men are weak ass little bitches. At least from the religion standpoint.
Yeah, it's kind of a complete 180 on the history of religion.
Yeah, I kind of enjoy it.
Is it kind of funky? I like it.
I do like it. So
she does it.
She does it. The old Reverend Mother, she has a seizure. She survives. She becomes the Reverend Mother, but the old Reverend Mother has a panic moment.
Yeah, she says, "What have we done?"
Because she's pregnant.
Yep.
And it will not get discussed or touched on or explained on in any other way. And I cannot tell if the Reverend Mother was freaking out because she's pregnant and that could, like, harm the baby and her. Or if giving the life water to a baby is a really bad idea because it'll do some weird-ass fuckery, which it kind of does.
Well, right here in the wiki, this is one of the things that I skimmed through and I saw. It's right... Let me get the mouse. It's right here. The liquid prematurely awakens the mind of the unborn daughter. Because, like you were saying, Jessica says before that she can sort of communicate with the baby, right? And she already knows it's a daughter, which is some crazy shit. From here, though, the daughter starts, like, yammering all the time, asking questions, learning shit. It's like
moving
this.
the plot forward in
Yes.
like a manipulative type
Yes,
way.
she's and you know, I haven't read the books. I don't know what's to come from the plot lines of the books. But if I were to make a gamble, I would say Paul's probably not the chosen one, and the chosen one was going to be the second born of Jessica.
But I thought the chosen one had to be a male.
Right. That's I think just lip service to prophecy.
Okay.
I think it doesn't actually matter what the gender was. I think they would have preferred the chosen one be a male so that they can keep their religious order pure and female. But I think Jessica did her hubris bullshit, whatever, and flip flopped, had the male early because she was convinced I can just do this, was wrong. But now she's sort of ultra activated this child, and this child, who will later be played by Anya Taylor Joy, is going to be a big fucking problem for the galaxy later. I don't know if any of that's true. That's a big fat shot in the dark. But like Jessica has been playing these fucking political maneuvering mind games with every single person she talks to across both movies. She has been this huge manipulator, and you see it as a skill she's developed when Paul talks to people for the back 2/3 of the movie. He becomes this cult of personality master manipulator. He gets everyone, critics, non-critics, fanatics, non-fanatics, everyone's on board with him. And it doesn't take much. He's very, very good. He says all the right things in the right order at the right time, which is how scripts work. But
his charisma stat is also high.
his charisma is maxed out. And I don't know, man. It's setting the stage for future fuckery to have a child that's not born yet have a fully activated and developing mind early. And also that can communicate telepathically, which is crazy. That's just crazy shit. That's crazy.
Well, I guess the communicating telepathically is all part of the cult because you see them do it later, like Jessica to the Reverend Mother, and like we know that Paul and his mom can sometimes do it. And so I think that's just like if you're part of the bloodline of that cult, you get that ability. So that's kind of why I think Paul could talk to his sister in the womb and vice versa. Now she's just smarter. So it's not just baby thoughts. It's like
serious questions.
Yeah, like big people thoughts.
Yes. So she survives. Paul still is just pissed off about everything all the time. And he spends the next like half the movie in one of the longest training montages of all time.
But that has so many time jumps, it's very confusing.
It takes place over at least 7 months.
Yeah, because baby goes from being like not a baby to like whole baby.
Yes. So Dune 2 takes place over the course of about 7.5 months. And for a lot of that time, Paul is literally just learning how to be Fremen, learning how to fight like them, learning how to do everything like them, learning their language. He gets a name, which is dope.
Is this you speed trekking along so that we can get to the second half of this podcast?
I mean, kind of, but like a lot of the plot that happens outside of his training montage happens off-world. Like we only jump back to his mom once in basically the whole training montage because you see her not be very pregnant and she's like, I have to get everyone on board. And then we don't check in with her again until she's extremely pregnant near the middle of the movie, but then the time jumps stop and we get like day-to-day movie.
I guess my question was because I just have funny notes and I just need to know if I'm just like...
Yeah, man, run through your funny notes. What do you got?
Well, Paul gets sent on a spirit quest, and so they just send him off into the desert.
Yep.
And he doesn't get a weapon or anything.
I think he has a knife on him, but
Zendaya calls him a drunk, or says Sand walks like a drunk wizard.
Lizard.
Lizard. Sorry, wizard. I was reading
You
Walk.
sandwalk like Gandalf, bitch.
I was reading the note below it and meant to say lizard, and it just combined. He also tried to straight up mansplain her culture to her about sandwalking.
My note there is like he almost fucked up talking about her shit to her, and she just like looks at him like, "Are you gonna stop talking?" And he goes, "You know what? You're right. Let me shut up and please carry on."
Yeah. Paul gets a Fremen.
Holy shit.
I think it auto-corrected for me because
oh yeah, my shit was auto-correcting all the time. He gets a Fremen name.
He gets a Fremen name, which is
Usul.
Kangaroo Mouse.
Nope, that's Muad'Dib. In that tent when they have that scene.
Oh yeah, it's Desert Mouse.
He that's the name he picks. The name that is bestowed on him is Usul,
which is Kangaroo Mouse.
No. Usul is the base of a pillar. It means strong. That's what Stilgar says. He asks the name of the desert mouse, which is Muad'Dib, and so they call him Muad'Dib.
Okay, so that's what I was saying, and you corrected me twice, and I had to go back and fix it, and then you kept saying no. So Desert Mouse.
Yeah, that's the one he picks for himself.
Thank you. But it's actually not Desert Mouse, because later they say it means Kangaroo Mouse.
That's what the princess says, because that's what the animal is. But to the Fremen, they just call it the desert mouse. I'm just telling you what happened in the scenes.
We went from his spirit quest to assassin sabotage mission with like zero explanation or anything. Yeah.
That was one of the most confusing jumps in the whole movie, is going from
them sandwalking.
Yeah, they go from sandwalking to committing a huge tactical mission.
And yeah, they go from sandwalking to sabotage mission and desert mousing, and then we jump to how to ride a worm. And there's no explanation of any in between of Paul learning anything else.
Nope. I don't think you necessarily need it, but like a timeline would have been nice.
Or any semblance of like, other movies have done it better, like for like learning and like passages of time to where you can like tell that the like time has passed. It was just so jarring to go from he didn't even finish his spirit quest to sabotage mission to can I ride a worm? No, only Fremen can ride a worm.
And then
rides a worm. Like,
and then like very shortly after can I ride a worm, he and Chani are just like an item and they're fucking in the tents and shit.
Yeah, and then they literally go to like his worm riding test. Like it's just so sporadic and jumpy, and
we don't get any evidence of him being taught how to ride a sandworm. We just he goes, I'm gonna do that, and they go, only Fremen can do that. And then the next scene is like, all right, well, here's your final test. Good luck. Go do it. Okay, sure. And I mean, I bet you the novel is this big, thick boy of pages that does detail out everything that he does in the meantime. And if I were writing an adaptation movie, that is the stuff that I'd be like, we can yada yada his training montage and just show him doing the badass shit.
We can, James is right, we can kind of leave it off here at the end of like his training montage with him riding the worm.
Yes. Because then the next thing we're gonna do is go to Fade.
Yeah, my favorite thing that was said in this entire movie is when Paul is talking about his visions to
mom?
No, to the girl.
To Chani?
Yeah, I was like, I'll never remember her name. To Chani. I remember Desert Spring.
Oh yeah, that's her name.
More than I remember her fucking actual name. But he's telling her about his visions, and he's like, nothing is clear, it's only fragments. And that is me with this entire fucking franchise the whole way through. It's my new favorite quote about Dune, is nothing is clear, it's only fragments. That's the explanation of Dune. The end. Alrighty. It is. It's gonna be a big chunk. You're right that you were right to kind of speed through that because it was. I had funny things to say. I didn't say my funny boner line that I had,
I also skipped my funny boner joke.
but it's fine. I need more water. I need to rip off my nose.
Just gonna say Dune 2 Part 1.
It has a name.
I know it does, but the problem is the name is Dune Part 2.
I think it has,
And that's gonna fuck up my whole naming
it has
scheme.
another.
Nope, it's Dune Part 2.
I swear to God, it has another name. I'm just nope. You're right. It's Dune Part 2, but it's spelled all the way out.
Yes.
If you wanted to do that, you could.
I don't. I'm just gonna call it Dune 2 Part 1.
That's fine. Yeah, no, we get to vote on a movie. We'll eventually record our Fallout review, hopefully before we forget.
That's gonna be a joyous occasion. The Fallout show is. I can't say it. Damn it.
Did you save it?
Yeah, I saved it.
Okay.
But I exited out.
I thought I had a panic moment.
I can't say enough good things about Fallout. It's
Yeah,
so good.
No, Fallout's really good. I forgot what I was going to say though, because you made me panic.
My bad.
Okay. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Maybe.
That'd be wild.
It wouldn't be the first time. That's what we did with the last one when we did Has Been. We did.
Oh yeah, we did an episode the night before.
Yeah, we did a movie episode and then we did a TV episode. It's just kind of like when we find time, but also there's a bunch of fucking games we have to play on our like channel, like our. I mean, this is our channel, but like games. Are you trying to kill that bug?
No. Don't mind me.
Okay.
It's just shitty craftsmanship.
Okay. Cause we got a bunch of fucking. While we've been gone, because I know it's been a minute, we got a bunch of fucking drops of games. Vacuum. A bunch of games that are long-standing staples on this channel, i.e. Kindergarten, which if you're new here, that's where that little guy's from. His name's Nugget. That square back there, his name's Nugget. It was a big thing on our Twitch channel when we were there, was Kindergarten. So much so that there was like reactions you could post, and our channel points were called Nuggets of Friendship forever. And so that there's a new one of those coming out. There's like 3 new Bendy games. There's a Subnautica but on Mars. There's a lot that's happening. That we are probably going to actually hopefully be playing more of. We hope. And then we'll doing a mixture of like news and means. What the fuck? News and olds on here as far as movies. So like some new movies that have come out recently and some old movies that have come out recently. Fucking, was it called? A Ballad of... No. Songbirds and... What the fuck
No,
is...
No.
We're not...
Pull one of those off there.
Why?
Because we have to add the nice guys to the list.
Okay. I could have added it as the last one. I didn't need to take off the other one.
Oh, did you want to do 5 options?
I can only do 4.
Oh, okay.
But I hadn't finished typing this one, and you were like, take one of those off there. And I was like...
Well, because I thought you really wanted to do the Ballad of whatever and whatever.
Songbirds
yeah,
and... Can you look it up on IMDb and tell me what the fuck it's called? Because I don't have it actually written on the list. It just popped up.
It's called The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
I was so there.
That's gonna be such a shit movie. Oh my god.
Can I fit it? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay.
Another Timothy Chalamet. Wow, there's a lot of stuff on here.
Yeah, I was going to do a mix of some new and some old, but we have like 3 new and 1 old. But we'll be back in like 5 minutes. I need more water. James needs to bandage his foot. We'll be right back. Timothy Chalamet for the win.
I just want you to watch The Nice Guys.
Well, blame blame one of the people. One of your friends.
I blame him.
You think it was Hannah?
Yes.
Someone voted for it last week too, and I think it was Hannah. Well, it's gonna be a Timothy Chalamet party. Hannah will be happy with my vote. It was Bree, but it was Hannah.
It was Bree. Bree fucked my
Bree
ass.
for Hannah, really, is what that comes down to. Timothy Chalamet time. We're just gonna do a bunch of Timothy Chalamet movies. All right. I didn't even have time to write that one on there. I am gonna write a ballad because I'll forget. Oh, fuckery. Snakes. Because I will also forget what that means. Alrighty. I'm in the same boat, but I just want you to watch the new Mean Girls musical because I need someone else to experience it with me, and all the people that I wanted to experience it with are no longer going to experience it with me except you. So
yeah, The Nice Guys for chat is it's a dark comedy detective movie
with Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling and shit, what's his name? Hold on.
I'm just fucking with my bottle, so.
It's Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. And they are so funny in this movie. I mean, the people who were talking about Ryan Gosling finally being able to do a funny role in Barbie have clearly never seen this movie. He is perfection.
He does lots of funny things. He was in Crazy Stupid Love too, which is a comedy.
Yes, but for some reason, these uncultured swine watched Barbie and they were like, "Oh my god, Ryan Gosling finally got to do a funny thing," which is insane. He's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of things.
He's a very talented actor.
Okay. I need to figure out where we are in my mind for the plot because we did just yada yada a bunch of it. So before we
are
record
right here.
That doesn't help me. Unlike you, most of the time for my notes, like my notes help me keep track of the plot. The only time I've been struggling recently with plot has been with the TV episodes because
there's so much.
There's so much. We're not doing them right after we watch them, and I'm not taking notes on them.
Yeah.
So it's like I have to be like, okay, so then this happened, Except I didn't need to do that with Avatar because it's just Avatar but bad. Okay, after the sandworms.
You know, find your place, and then I have a comment before we go live.
I have the note that she was made to lead a cult. And she's suddenly very pregnant, which we also kindly talked about. Sudden sex scene. I'm trying to find a good place for us to pick up. Where did you say we are? Over here? We rode the sandworm. Traveling south. Okay. 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 You know this wiki thing doesn't really give you?
What does it not give you?
Like, the things that are happening outside of, like, Paul's life. Because the next place I have to start after they do his name would be when the Baron's nephew comes and tries to kill Paul. The first time. The bitch baby nephew.
Oh yeah, that happens during the spice raids, which get briefly mentioned. Here.
Okay, that's
to
where
continue spice raids. Yeah, that's where we need to
Yeah,
start
let's
because
start
we
there.
ended with Paul getting his names. So it's basically the end of his training montage.
Okay.
The comment, I was reading through some of the trivia, like I do, and I think our estimation that Zendaya as an actress has, or even as a person, has grown and become a better person in recent history is exemplified by a comment that Dennis Villeneuve, the director, made about how she was on set. Apparently, she was on set every day, including days she wasn't shooting, just sitting near the director and the director of photography and listening and paying attention, taking notes, listening. He was like, it wouldn't shock me if someday you see her direct something because she was just a gem and she was on set all the time, paying very close attention. So I think she might have like
Maybe she
evolved out of
matured.
the shitty child actor variety.
Her teenage bitch phase, where everyone
She
wanted to kill
probably,
her.
I think she probably grew out of that now that she's doing like much more serious productions like Challengers and Dune 2 and the
Euphoria.
Euphoria. I think those are like, I think there's, I mean, we saw it with Quiet on Set. There's a there's a very toxic working environment that is working on children's television. And I think once you get out of that and you get into like, not to say more real work environments, but like you're working on set, you're not at the studio, you're on location. Like it's it's a grown up world, and I bet you she's gotten a little bit better about this is a grown up world, and I'm going to be a grown up in it.
Like she stumbled through the first couple years of it and then kind of
Righted the ship, and now she's making atrocious amounts of money, and she was already very talented.
Alrighty. I'll be willing to believe that people can grow.
Sure, yeah. I'll walk back any. Well, I won't walk back. It's no, it's documented that she was shitty on the sets of the shows she was on when she was younger.
The shows and like the movie, like even I think like the up to the first Spider-Man is when I really heard it, and which might even be like early in her Euphoria career. So maybe
Yeah.
she just grew the fuck up.
Post pandemic, it seems she's gotten better.
That would be a good way to put it. Post pandemic, Zendaya seems to be more mature and maybe not as much of a bitch.
Seems to be great.
Which also, I've never met the girl, so
she could be a delight.
Just going off what other people have said, but multiple people have had not great things to say about Zendaya. Alrighty, let's get this back to where it needs to be. Here we go. You ready?
Yes. We're kicking off with
Spice Raids.
the continuous spice raids. Okay.
And I have it set up on note 69. Nice. I'm not joking. It's literally my note about the Spice Raids is number 69. So, here we go.
What do you think it feels like physically to do spice?
Like being high on any other drug? A hallucinogenic drug? So, like.
Well, no. Not like the post doing. Like, doing cocaine's not a pleasant experience. Snorting anything's not a pleasant experience. Do you think it's the same with spice? Or do you think that it's such a potent drug that just being around it, like the Fremenar, being around it is enough that you get a sort of constant high?
I'm going to make a reference that's not going to make sense to anyone listening or anyone that's even watching our YouTube channel. I think it's like banana bread. Because eventually, if you
do it enough,
it just doesn't do anything to you.
Interesting.
That's my interpretation of it, is it's like banana bread. So if you, the first couple times you do banana bread, especially the first time, bad shit or random shit happens, or you get hallucinations like spice. But the more you do it, your body, and this is true of really any drugs, that's why addiction is such a problem, unless they're non-addictive substances like THC and stuff like that. The more you do a drug, the more you have to do a drug to get the same effects that you had the first time. So if you're looking for that like euphoric high, like the hallucinogenic properties of the first time you do spice, in theory you would have to do more and more and more spice. But because spice is everywhere, eventually there's not an amount you can do. Like, it's just in your system.
Yeah.
So that's your new normal. So it wouldn't give you the same hallucinogenic properties. But even I'm gonna find it on the page and I'm gonna say her name. I'm gonna say it. Chani. Even Chani says to Paul at one point, like, you've been on Spice for a while, it does give you weird dreams. So even on it for extended periods, it still does have some lasting hallucinogenic properties.
This is a great tangent. Didn't answer my question.
You asked what it feels like.
To physically do it. Not to have the euphoria. Like, do you think the spice hurts when it's inside your nose?
Except you don't breathe it through your nose because you got your tube thingy. It goes in your eyes.
Yes. Do you think it hurts your eyes?
It hurt Paul the first time. So
it doesn't help that it's like interspersed with sand.
I was like,
sand sucks.
So yeah, I feel like it's not a pleasant experience the first couple times because ow.
Don't do drugs, kids. Welcome to CityWavesCinema. That's America. I'm James. This is Dune Part 2, where we left off in our last episode, which was a good chunk an hour long, is Paul going through a sort of informal but very formal ceremony amongst his Fremen group to give him names. He is assigned the name Yusul. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And he picks the name Muad'Dib. Now, legend of Muad'Dib will be spread without a sort of plan for that to happen. It just sort of happens because they are going on this group of Fremen that includes Paul and Chani and Stilgar and all their homies. They're going around fucking shit up for the Harkonnens who are trying to harvest spice and get that shit rolling, right?
And suddenly
everyone knows about Muad'Dib. Yeah,
they all know his name, which was kind of my note as we move into these spice raids and things from the Harkonnen.
The Harkonnens.
I had to find it on the page, otherwise it was just going to be the bald, naked cult. They are trying to get their spice trade because it's kind of what their whole fucking shtick is on the planet, and the Fremen are fucking it up. And at one point, they just know his name, and I have in all caps, which takes effort if you're doing it on a phone because you have to like actually tap more buttons to make it all. I am so fucking confused about how much time has passed because they just suddenly know his name, and we only see the Fremen really do like 2 attacks before they're like, where is Muad'Dib? Where is Muad'Dib? Like, and like trying to find this needle in the haystack. And it was one of those moments where it feels just so jarring time-wise. Where we go from him getting his name to...
It's a pretty quick transition from him choosing the name to it being like, oh, you're like a planet-wide regarded hypercriminal. That's crazy. But it's sort of a classic storyline of like the mythical antagonist to the occupiers is like, it's this guy, they don't know who it is. They have a name, but they don't know who that is, and it's scary because everywhere his name pops up, people are dying, the operation is getting fucked up, and it's I mean, you've read about it in stories and myths throughout history.
Which also, are they just like shouting it as like a war cry when they roll? Like
Probably. They're probably doing that. I bet you and I mean, this is stuff we don't get to see. So it's stuff that you sort of like have to think about if you really want to think about it. Is like one of the best ways to spread lore and legend about what a badass you are is when you attack some people, don't kill everyone. Kill most of them. Leave a few alive. They'll remember your name. They'll remember the way it happened and they'll go. And when they get debriefed about it, they're going to talk about it. And then those people are going to talk about it. And when they get to go back to hang out with their new teammates or whatever, their new units, they're going to talk about their experience. And the word spreads very naturally through word of mouth. Like, this is what happened to me. And then those people tell other people. Those people tell other people. And it's sort of like wildfire that you can spread this rumor about this super badass motherfucker who's leading the Fremen on these crazy spice raids. And we don't get to see any of that rumor spread, but we get to see the results of the rumor spread, which are at this point in the movie, it spreads up to Robin, who is Dave Bautista, and he's the guy from the first movie and this movie who is supposed to get the spice manufacturer working for the Harkonnens.
Before you go too far down that train
Yes.
of the Harkonnen family,
Yeah.
I have some notes about our good friend Mr. Angry Bald Man. Because all I can hear every time he's on screen, because most of the time he's throwing a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
Literally, like in my head, I just hear wah, like literally like a baby every time he's on screen, because he's just every time he's like throwing a temper tantrum or running away from something. It's just like wah.
In the first movie, he's like this super badass warrior, and he demonstrates that. And then in the second movie, it's like a complete turnaround. And you know, I'm not saying it doesn't happen like that in the books, but that's really lame character work. Now, Dave Bautista is a hell of an actor, and he puts on a show with it. But people don't just like flip like that 100% of the way. It takes time.
Then we jump back to, I think this is when we get our second log, or maybe they're just having their meeting, but the daughter and the emperor.
Yeah, this isn't in the plot on here, but yeah, we go to the daughter and the emperor, and she's barking at him because she's figured out that he's done a bunch of bullshit to fuck up the Atreides. And
he kind of asks her, he's like, well, how would you deal with the Fremen?
And she says smart answers that I don't remember.
She says a lot of really smart things. I wrote, I like her. She's not dumb. An actual smart character in this fucking world. But like, he asked that question. He's like, well, what would you do? What would you do to this Muad'Dib? And she's like, I wrote a funny note. I was like, I wouldn't have killed his whole family for starters. Like, is what she would actually say. Because like,
that's what she would say if she knew that he was Paul.
Yeah,
they don't know.
No, but if she knew, that's exactly what she's saying.
Oh yeah, she'd be like, well, for starters, I wouldn't have genocided his entire lineage.
But the Black Nun cult is like in control of everything.
Yes.
They're in control of the Emperor.
Yes.
They're in control of the Emperor's daughter.
Yes.
They're in control of Paul and his mom somewhat.
They are so not in control of Paul.
They are
fucking freaking out about Paul.
No, but they kind of started off his whole trek. And by making this prophecy and infusing it in the culture, they somewhat are responsible also for Paul.
They are responsible for it. But, and here's an interesting thing. They hedged their bets, right? And they say as much when they go, we have multiple prospects for who could be. And, you know, they've sort of given up on the idea that Paul could be. They think Paul's dead. So they hedged their bets that they were going to create this Messiah figure. And one of their options is a Harkonnen who is called Fade Routha. And
I thought they were just using him to control the planet.
No. They literally are trying to make him the Messiah guy.
I don't think so. Because when they're talking about it, they're looking to see if he can be controlled.
Yes.
And to get the planet back under their control. Because the planet's kind of... The other Harkonnens are not doing such a good job. The other brother, is not doing, the Angry Bald Man, is not doing a good job. And the Fremen are kind of running amok, where they used to be more under control because of the prophecy and everything. And so I thought what they were trying to do with
Fade,
was to use him to get that planet back under control.
Yes. However, the initial plan was to do that with Paul, which is why the Reverend Mother in the first movie went and tested him with that mean box and the angry needle.
I have questions about that too.
I have answers about that.
Are we there yet? I don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
We're leaning towards that direction because we have to do Fade's whole fight first, and then we get to that.
I do have the bald naked cult, and why is it suddenly black and white? So yeah, we're getting into that. So let's start with by talking to his birthday, and then when we get to the weird, sexy
the seduction of Fade.
Yeah, we can talk about the box. But so we jump back to the because they lead off basically by saying this is our plan is to go get this, see if this guy can be controlled.
Yeah, we're gonna go see if Fade can be controlled.
And we jump into our first introduction to Fade, which James blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
Because that's fucking Austin Butler.
Yes, that's Austin Butler, yes.
And my exact note is, what the actual fuck is this cast?
Stellar.
And this movie. Like, they're
incredible.
You have Zendaya, you have Timothée Chalamet, you have Christopher Walken, you have Austin Butler, and you've got a Skarsgård in there, like...
And you've got Josh Brolin, and you've got Javier Bardem.
Like, it's just like, what is this cast? Like, it's yes, it's a really good cast, but it's also like the most random compilation of humans I could possibly think about for this movie.
Yeah, it's fucking phenomenal though. Isn't that fucking great?
It's just such a weird mind game of like people where I'm like, also you could have told me, or you could have not told me that was Austin Butler and tried to get me to like guess who that actor was.
Never would have got there.
Not a million years.
No.
I really know Austin Butler for like his swoopy hair and like his
very pronounced eyebrows and hair.
His cool guy smolder that he has going on all the time.
This is psychopath Austin Butler.
He does not look like that.
No. He put on 25 pounds of muscle for this.
Wow.
He went from Elvis to this. It's crazy. What a transformation. Yeah. Hell of an actor. Hell of an actor. So yeah, we jump down to see Fade, and they do this whole sequence on their planet, which supposedly is orbiting a black sun, which is a weird thing to say, but they show it, and it's very visually striking.
Isn't there a song about a black sun?
Probably. So a fun thing for me technically about this scene is it's a series of scenes. They shoot everything that's on this planet in infrared.
It's just suddenly black and white, and also no explanation. James explained it to me, but no explanation will be given from the actual movie of why the movie is just suddenly in black and white.
They kind of expect you to just be like, oh, it's because of the black sun, and run with that.
Sure.
They shot it in infrared, which is why. But it's a very, very cool and interesting sequence to look at. We see Fade. We're introduced to his character actually the scene prior, back with the Emperor and his daughter, and the princess hears the name Fade Routha, and she says he's a psychopath. And so we cut to him being a psychopath as he preps for his birthday present, which is gladiatorial combat.
You know, no kink shaming, because Fade has a lot of weird kinks.
He's got kinks, dude. He's got kinks.
And one of them is like pain and blood and stuff. But yeah, no, he's an odd little. I can't think of anyone who would ever go, for my birthday, I want gladiatorial combat. But also, for a good portion of the gladiatorial combat, I don't want to like actually get, this is just for funsies. I just want to do a murder, because it's not actual gladiatorial combat that's the present. It's that he just gets to murder indiscriminately. Because if it was actual gladiatorial combat, he wouldn't even start wearing a shield. He would start just out there fighting. But no, he just wants to do public sanctioned execution murder.
Basically. But then, even then, he
really gets into it when he does find a challenge.
Yeah, he gets into it when he fights the last remaining Atreides, because they don't drug that guy, and so he's able to like actually fight.
Which also, like, kind of not sorry about that guy dying at all.
He did betray everybody. Um, so yeah, so Fade basically smokes two guys, has a good battle with another guy. Uh,
There's some
almost
random shark people that don't get explained.
they are explained via their actions, which are they are there to basically make sure Fade doesn't get hurt. And the moment real danger appears to Fade, they literally attack the guy, and Fade stops them attacking him
Yeah.
because he wants it. He wants to do this.
Yeah,
And he's just like with his black mouth and teeth, he's it's just yelling at him. It's fucking
he would do
wild.
great in the Mad Max universe.
Oh yeah, terrific. So yeah, Fade kills all those guys, gives the last guy a sort of honorable statement, I guess. He goes, "You fought well," and ends his life. And the gladiatorial thing's over. The Bene Gesserit have been watching him, and they're like, "Wow, he's fucking good." And then
He goes and
has words with his uncle.
Yeah, why is he always in a bath?
Because he's dying. He needs to be kind of constantly doing those healing tank treatments because he suffered a lethal dose for anyone else of that gas from the first movie. Like the doctor said, it should have been enough to kill him.
Yeah,
and everyone else in the room, and it killed everyone else in the room, but it didn't kill him. And he had to be in those healing oil baths.
But wasn't he also in those healing oil baths before the?
Yeah, and maybe it's because he's a giant fat blob that's probably got a lot of health issues.
Okay.
That's just my assumption. Is like he is not well, and so he must be in the oil. His skins.
The Harkonnen family has a meeting, and basically the uncle explains the whole plan, which is the Baron. The Baron explains the whole plan to Fade that like this is how this is gonna work. I'm gonna send you to the planet. Eventually, you're gonna be emperor.
Yes, this is your first step towards becoming emperor of everything.
The end. Is kind of how that whole meeting goes.
Yes.
And then we get some really cool liquid fireworks, which aren't actual liquid fireworks. They're just regular fireworks, but
they look liquidy and it's very cool.
They're shot in infrared and kind of look like liquid, and so it's really cool. And then Fade gets seduced by a sexy nun.
A Bene Gesserit who definitively fucked him.
They literally sent the sexiest nun in the Black Nun cult to broker the deal of seeing this guy, if this guy was controllable, by doing the box test. And now I have questions. This is where we will get to the questions about the box test.
Yes.
I did make a funny note though, that because she was like, "Put your hand in the box," as he's like about to like kiss her, and I was like,
not that box.
I did say "not that
what
box"
a great joke.
Out loud, and then I wrote, "He is disappointed that it is not her lady box." What is this test?
Okay. The test is you on threat of death with the poison needle.
Yeah.
They want you to put your hand in the box where you will experience excruciating pain, and they want you to keep your composure while you're basically interrogated under this excruciating pain. That won't leave any marks. It's whatever their witchy bullshit is, right? And if you freak out or go to attack them, they'll simply kill you. You'll die in a second. And they want proof that you, the recipient of the test, are capable of controlling your emotions and controlling your abilities in order for them to bestow upon you more access to their witchy bullshit, which includes the voice and other stuff.
Because when Paul did it,
yep,
it didn't seem to phase him very much, other than he kind of looked constipated a little bit.
Oh, see, when I watch that, I see him do a great scene where he acts in a lot of pain really well.
And we don't get to see What's His Bucket do it, but he likes pain, so...
He does. He kind of craves pain. It's weird.
Then they bang.
Which we also don't see.
Apparently, because she is now...
She indicates that the bloodline remains strong.
And that it's a girl.
Yep. So that's fucking weird. That's just fucking weird, dude.
Yeah. What?
I don't know, man. The Bene Gesserit are just fucking weird.
Also, how come Paul didn't get banged after his test? What?
I think he was more of a child when his test happened.
I don't understand the rules of the fucking nun cult. Then Fade
Yeah, Fade.
gets sent off by his uncle and they do weird mouth-to-mouth kissing.
He gets installed as planetary governor.
And his uncle kisses him on the mouth, which is weird.
Then he kisses him back on the mouth, which is extra weird.
I don't care what universe or anything.
Even ceremonial mouth kisses are weird.
Family on family mouth kisses is weird.
Yes.
I don't like it. I can't think of a single family member I've ever kissed on the mouth. Ever.
Oh, I also wanted to make a note here while we're doing the whole sequence with Austin Butler. Austin Butler, and I said this out loud when we watched, he does such a good job acting with his face in this whole sequence because it sort of gives this underlying unease, the way he just flexes the muscles in his face sort of randomly, that you feel like, oh, this guy is like very dangerous. This is a
he's very
unhinged person. And he just does such a good job portraying that. And I just wanted to notate that because man was I impressed. He did such a good job.
Sorry. Then we get a reunion.
Yep. Gurney's alive, by the way. Surprise, surprise. Gurney Halleck remains alive, having escaped the genocide of the Atreides family. And he is basically doing rogue spice harvesting and smuggling.
He's a smuggler.
Yep.
He's Han Solo.
He's Han Solo.
My only thoughts about this is like Paul just immediately like takes him in, which is fine.
Yep.
I'm gonna let all my arguments about why we shouldn't just trust old friends go away because he turns out to be just fine.
Yep.
But my question about that whole sequence is the Fremen also just like kind of just let this dude roll up and chill.
Well, they showcase one person being like, I don't know about that.
Well, it's the bitch that's always like, I don't know about that. That's like her whole character line until she dies is like,
it's all very, I don't know about any of this.
Yeah, I don't know about this.
But at the same time, you also get to watch her warm up to Paul. And it's sort of this connection plot of like, you're watching Paul step into his role as the leader of this effort to give the planet back to the Fremen. And well, in theory, that's what he's trying to do.
I'm with Zendaya on this one. I don't know about that.
I like living in that camp though, because just before that scene, we see them go back to the Siege where he interacts with his mother again, who is very pregnant at this point. And it is established that his mother needs to go south for religious reasons. She's supposed to go to the south to do stuff with the fundamentalists who live in the southern hemisphere of the planet. And Paul said, fuck that, I'm not going. And they were like, you have to go. And he was like, fucking no. End of story. And Chani wants him to stay in the north. He doesn't want to go south because he's worried about his visions and this holy war that will come if he goes to the south. So he stays in the north. They find Gurney. And he is, at this point, I would say he's like probably 3/4 of the way to being heralded as this incredible leader. Strictly from a military standpoint. Like, he's running their op, basically. He's the guy. Stilgar's in charge, but he's the guy, right? He and Chani are these bad motherfuckers who are like the best of the military for them, basically. And so I think there's a level of respect that the group gives to him in bringing Gurney in, which is questioned heavily when Gurney's like, oh, I know where all the nukes are.
That was my next
and
note.
Paul goes, all of them? We can have all the nukes. And everyone's like, whoa there, buckaroo. What if we don't use atomics? And he was like, but we could have all of them.
That's really the like beginning of the downfall, at least in Chani's eyes, of Paul.
And I think it's because you could. He could do it without them.
Oh yeah.
I have no doubt he could swing the whole thing without the nukes. But having them as a threat at the end of the movie is kind of a big plot point, because everyone at the end of the movie is like, he's bluffing. And he's like, fuck it.
Did you not see me blow up those mountains earlier? Because I did that.
We literally took down some mountains earlier. Yeah. So they go and they find the stockpile of nukes for all of House Atreides.
Only Paul can access because of his genetics, but there's not the door. He sticks his 4 fingers into some finger holes, and the door just opens.
Right.
But how, like, he's sci-fi, but like it doesn't take any sample of his genetics at all. There's no.
You don't know what it looks like on the inside of the panel.
It doesn't take blood. It doesn't scrape his skin cells.
You don't know.
Well, he seems relatively fine.
Sure. Maybe it's one of those, those scanners where you put your hand on it and it reads your fingerprints?
Yeah, but
maybe it's like that and you just can't see it because it's inside the box.
Fingerprints don't dictate genetic lineage.
Yeah, but what if he was fingerprinted when they came to the planet as a important thing about, like, only the family can access the atomics?
Well, that'd be a great thing for them to show or explain in any way, shape, or form.
I'm not arguing that, but they would have done it in the first movie.
Yeah, and they didn't.
Nope. And so you're left to fill in the blank on what that little finger doodad does. But they say, they literally do the plot quick and dirty. They're like, this will only accept your DNA. And he sticks his fingers in there and it accepts his fingers. So we are left to believe, unless you're America, that it reads his DNA in some sort of way.
I'm not saying it doesn't, because it works. Well, I'm just saying I want to understand how.
But that's not important for the plot. It reads his DNA. Next step.
We jump back to the Emperor's daughter and the Black Nun cult, and she comes over because I think at this point... No, wait. That doesn't happen yet. Does it happen yet?
No. What event are you talking about?
I just want... Okay.
Oh.
I want to know...
Yes.
And this is my next question. And ignore everything I just said, because we don't go there. But it is my next question of... Because it's mentioned that, like, I think maybe it's because one of the Harkonnens says it or something. But, like, all the royal families or whatever, like, the major families and shit like that, everyone is obsessed with this fucking planet and what's going on this planet. You know what it is? Maybe it's because she's doing her next diary entry. I think I'm right. She's doing her next diary entry and she's talking about this fucking planet. Why is everyone so obsessed with this fucking planet? Like, yeah, I know it's got your spice on it. Okay, cool. Whatever. But, like, does everyone need to, like, know and keep tabs on, like, the political standings and, like, lore of this planet? Like, is there nothing going on? They don't talk about any other planets in any of the other parts of the galaxy. They don't talk about anything else going on any of the other things, like with the other families. Everyone in the whole entire galaxy is just obsessed with this one fucking planet.
Yes.
Why?
Spice.
There's nothing else happening anywhere else?
Sure, there's loads of stuff happening anywhere else. This is the only planet where spice is made. It's the only planet where spice occurs naturally, and therefore it is the biggest source of spice in the galaxy. Arrakis is the only place you can get spice.
Okay.
So it's like the United States and oil. If some random country in the Middle East was the only country in the whole world where you could get oil, we would hearken in the shit out of that country. We did that.
But we don't...
The parallel is...
Yeah, we all get the parallels. It's a social commentary. I get it.
Yeah.
I why are we keeping up on, like, again, it's not so much like, yeah, I get the spice is important and we want to keep track of the spice trade and make sure the spice is coming. I I still, even if I, like, was involved in that, I wouldn't care about, like, the lore or the, like, political standings or the prophecies of said spice planet. I just want to know if my spice is getting there on time, and if it's not, who am I shooting to get it to me on time? Like, that's my thought process. I guess there's just so much investment in this planet, and only this planet, and no one talks about any other planets the entire time.
We talked briefly about Caladan, which is where the Atreides family's from.
Okay, moving on, because I'm not going to get anywhere with you on the planet nonsense.
I answered the question.
I'm just saying, like, in Star Wars, you hear about what's going on in other places.
Yeah, because it's important to the plot.
And other places
hear about what's going on in other places.
Have other things going on. Like, it's a whole, like, an established galaxy and universe that there are multiple things happening at multiple times.
Sure.
Everyone in the entire galaxy seems to only be fixated and care about what is happening on this one fucking planet.
Well, now, in fairness, we only know about 3 factions. 4 if you count the Fremen.
5 if you count the Black Nun cult.
5 if you count the Bene Gesserit. There's the Emperor and his Sardaukar. There's House Atreides, House Harkonnen, the Fremen, and the Bene Gesserit. There's your factions for the plot that we're following, the story we're following. There's, to run you back to Star Wars briefly, there are hundreds of factions that are canon in Star Wars, and a great chunk of time that we get a look at in that galaxy for what's going on, and you can tell millions of stories about events and stuff, right?
And yet we still somehow fuck it up.
Correct. For Dune, the author did all the world building, but only told the story of these factions at this time. These factions at this time are the ones we mentioned. The Bene Gesserit controls everything with religion. The Emperor is in charge of everything. And the houses are this sort of cabal of which there are many great houses. I think there's 12. There could be more. There's many great houses that form the populace of the galaxy. And they're led by different heads of house. Paul's dad is head of House Atreides.
Yeah.
Baron Harkonnen is head of House Harkonnen.
Yep.
So these are the players in the story of spice in this time period. Because the Emperor and the Bene Gesserit need the spice.
Yep.
Because it's a valuable resource. The Harkonnens are who they put in charge of it in the first place. The Bene Gesserit are doing their own shit behind the scenes, and the Emperor, for his own devices, wants to cut House Atreides down to size because they've gotten too powerful. They're too charismatic. They know too much. They're too good at everything. They need to be cut down. So he makes this bait and switch happen. He pulls the Harkonnens out, sticks House Atreides in, and that pisses off the Harkonnens.
Mm-hmm.
But the Baron's too smart. He knows this is a ploy.
Mm-hmm.
House Atreides fucks up in some way. And so the Sardaukar and the Harkonnens swoop in, kill them all, and take back over the planet. Therefore, fixing the Emperor's problem, establishing the spice trade the way they had it before, and everything works out for every faction. That's the story. That's why everyone's so obsessed with Arrakis, is because the plot device is spice. And Arrakis is where you get spice. That's why they're obsessed with the planet. Does it satisfy what you were looking for in terms of an answer?
I mean, I kind of already knew that. I'm just annoyed.
You're annoyed that it didn't world build in the way that you wanted it to world build?
Yeah.
Aww. Now who's Dave Bautista? It's you. Look who's a big bad crybaby.
So down in the south, the Fremen breed sandworms apparently, and that's where you get the
Water of life.
water of life.
Which is just sandworm guts.
Yep.
Gross. Gross.
And apparently the sandworms, because you have to drink the water of life to know the history of everything, are like the ultimate keepers of history. They're just the crows in fucking Game of Thrones. They're just prawn. But yeah. So we find that out. And then we find out that Paul's mom, she mentioned it earlier, but now she's like, really? Her and baby.
Yep.
Are really like, no, Paul's gonna come and drink this. And they tell the person that gathers it, like,
a male's gonna come and do it. And then she's like, that's forbidden. And they use the voice.
And she's like, he'll die. And they do. They use the voice. And so it's going to happen. But also, you said it would kill a man.
Yes.
Like the mom. Jessica said, it'll kill any man that tries it when she was about to go do it the first time.
Yes.
And now she's just going to have her son do it?
Yes. Would you like to know why?
Because she has all the knowledge of the universe because she drank the blue worm juice.
In a way, more so that she has drank her own Kool-Aid. She has bought in on the prophecy idea, right? And
I mean, she was made to lead a cult.
right. She didn't necessarily showcase lots of traits of believing what she was selling until right now, when she's like, let him try. He's going to make it. And
I mean, I made a note about it before, but like to Jessica's drinking her own Kool-Aid point, there are a lot of puzzle pieces that are clicking into place as far as Paul being this chosen one.
Yes.
To the point that it literally does seem like prophecy, whether not Jezebel's,
Bene Gesserit
made it up or not. Like, there's enough that it's like clicking into place where it's like, well, he either is, or this is like some
crazy coincidence.
cataclysmic coincidence.
Well, isn't that just religion?
But
it either is or it's crazy coincidental.
So, I mean, to be fair, like if she's looking at all the puzzle pieces and she's going, I don't know, it kind of lines
fuck it,
up.
we roll the dice
like,
on that one, right? No, yeah.
Anyways, you were saying more explanation about her.
So she's buying in on the faith that Paul is going to survive. And she's willing to hedge her bet on that. She's willing to commit to the idea that Paul is the guy. And I think there's always been a part of her that believed that anyways, because she's the Reverend Mother who had the hubris to believe she could breed the chosen one a generation early. Like, she was the one who made that choice consciously. So I think from the jump, she's always been like, Paul's going to do it. But at the same time, she's human and a mother, and it's like, well, I don't know if I want to risk his life over it, but at the end, you have to in order to prove it. So she uses the voice, and she has to prove that he's the one, and either he is or he dies, and that's basically it. That's the way she's got to live anyways. So
then they kill this, they get rid of the sacred city.
Yes.
Fade bombs the entire sacred city.
Yep, they shell the shit out of the sacred city, which they found somehow.
That will not be
so
explained.
Not explained. That is one thing, is they do not explain
the other brother
at all.
Couldn't find the shit to save his goddamn life.
Yes. They do not explain at all how Fade rolls in and finds it, and your only real, like, connect the dot there is like, well, he is just way better than his brother, so, or his cousin or whatever the fuck. He's just way better than Robin, so I guess he found the Siege, and so they obliterate the Siege, right?
Many people die.
So then Paul reaches out to Jameis, who he killed, and is like he's trying to find answers. Like, what should I do next? The Siege is destroyed. That pool of holy water's gone, and what do I do now? So Jameis goes, well, you're not going to know what to do unless you open up your mind in a better way. And the only way you can do that is if you drink the water of life. And the only
Literally
way
go
you can
drink
do
the
that
Kool-Aid.
is if you go south and gamble on it. So Paul goes, fucking god damn it. And he goes south.
Yeah, after telling
everyone he wasn't going to do it.
Everyone, and Zendaya was begging him. He's like, if I go south, you're going to leave me.
Shit's going to go sideways.
My whole vision's going to come true. Like, I don't want to fucking do it. And she, like, begs and pleads with him. And he basically goes, you know what? For you, and also this vision, I guess I'm going south. And everything he says comes true. And Zendaya spends the rest of the fucking movie, not Zendaya, but Chani spends the rest of the fucking movie going, why are you doing this? I don't understand.
Well, she doesn't even say anything. She's just cranky.
And she's mad at him. And I'm like, she's so mad at him. And he's like, literally, he fucking told you. He told you what was going to happen.
Listen, the power of boners is exceptional. The power of lady boners, remarkable. And she spends the whole first half of the movie, where he's very worried about going south, having a lady boner.
He told her what was going to happen.
Yep.
And she spends the rest of the movie being pissed at his ass.
Because exactly what he said would happen happens.
Yeah.
It's poetic justice in a way, because he's like, he assures her for the whole first half of the movie, I'm not going down there because I'm worried about what I've seen in my visions.
And I don't want to become that person.
And she's a little dismissive of why, but ultimately is happy he's not going to go down there. And then finally she's like, you have to go down there to save the people. And he's like, fucking shit. Fuck it. We're going. And they go down there. And from the moment they go down there, he like does everything he's supposed to do. And she's mad at him. And unhappy about the way it's going. But that's because she hasn't drunk the Kool-Aid. She's not bought into the religious fervor about him. To her, he's just a guy.
He drinks...
a remarkable guy, but a guy.
He drinks the life water. Water of life.
Dies.
Yeah, basically comes as close to death as you can get.
And then some more prophecy shit happens.
He goes and talks to his sister. There's water on the desert planet.
Yep.
Which is part of, like, the future. And his sister's, like, more or less is like, well, now it's time to learn about our family history. And we don't really get to see that. We find out what he learns later.
Yeah.
But we don't get to see it. We get to see the water, get to see her. She's like, it's time to learn you some shit. And then we go outside where we find out that he's basically dying.
Comatose, yeah.
The biblical allegory is a lot in this.
There's a lot of allegories that are a lot.
And because basically he has to come back from the dead, so like Jesus, like the leader, prophet, you get it. It's not subtle in any way what's happening here. But what is interesting and what I actually do like, one part of the story that I do like,
yeah,
and as part of the prophecy, I also feel like, something that might help anyone understand this movie at all is most things that have prophecies, at some point you get to hear like the entire prophecy, like laid out, which kind of will help you follow along in the movie, because you could it's almost like a cheat sheet, and you can check off certain things like, oh well, this is happening and then this is happening. That doesn't happen. We just find out certain parts of the prophecy like as they're happening. Like it just is like, so it was written.
Yeah.
One of those things, which I do think is a cool part of the prophecy, but one of those things is
the desert tears bit. Yeah. Because that's Chani's name.
Chani's name is Desert Spring, and one of the things that's part of the prophecy is that Paul will be saved or drink from the desert spring which is
Johnny's tears.
yes. Sorry.
You're really suffering over here, and someone's shooting off fucking fireworks.
I was trying not to choke through that like entire part. All right, sorry. You good? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I hit play.
No, you
No.
hit record.
So he's dying, and the only way to save him is she has to combine her tears with the worm guts and put it in his mouth.
Which, by the power of science fiction, resurrects him immediately.
No delay on that.
Not even a minute. He just pops right up.
I hope he was done with his
With
whole
his visions and shit.
with his whole talk with his sister in the womb, because
surprise, welcome back to the real world.
And then we find out through a very cute baby that his mom is the Baron's daughter. Yep. What the fuck?
Surprise.
What?
He's a Harkonnen.
What?
They're all Harkonnens. A plot twist of the fucking century.
Good plot twist. So many more questions.
Yeah, it really came out of nowhere.
So many more questions. This is where a lot of my notes just turn into questions. Because most of them are like, what the fuck is happening now? What the fuck is, because we're in the prayer room thing now.
Sort of a temple.
Yeah, the temple, and we don't, it literally goes from Paul, like, waking up, Chani slaps him, deserved.
And then he has a very angry conversation with his mother, where we just reinforce that Paul hates the Bene Gesserit so much.
And we find out that, she's the Baron's daughter, which makes him the Baron's grandson.
Yep.
Then we go to the temple, and that, like, there's no explanation of time or anything, but Chani's in there, and she's, like, mad, and she's not supposed to be talking in the temple, but she doesn't seem to give a fuck.
And then Paul breaks all the social rules by speaking instead of killing Stilgar and taking his place.
I did make a note because he kind of just strong arms his way into, like...
Oh yeah, he walks in there and is like, this is my shit and we're doing this.
And I was like, no one expected the Chosen One to become a dick all of a sudden. Like...
he walked in with massive dick energy.
Like, he just came in there, started yelling, and said, this is basically how this is gonna be now. And you wanna know how it's gonna be? Because I magically know shit that you do, that about you and you and you and you, and you have no explanation for how I know that. So guess what? I'm the Chosen One. Let's go.
And everyone bought it immediately. It was a good scene, but if it doesn't happen bang bang fast and you sit there and you like analyze it, you go, there is not an ounce of critical thinking happening. But at the same time, all the pieces have fallen into place for him to be the magic man, so I can see buying it.
We also get the best meme that's come out of this movie, which is combining him going, I am Paul Atreides, with the introduction that Wonka does in his movie, because they're both Timothée Chalamet, and it's been meshed together on the internet.
Oh yeah, it's a meme I don't know about.
You've seen it.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If not, guess what? I shared it on Twitter.
Oh.
For this fucking promo.
Terrific. Now for my favorite part of the rest of the movie.
Which I'll let James kind of talk about, because a lot of this was just me going,
What?
What?
Huh?
Yeah.
Why? How? What?
So I'll just kind of give my wrap-up thoughts here, which is Chani has no right to be pissed, because he told you not to make him come here. In fact, he told you twice, so you have no right to be mad at him. The Harkonnen know nothing about anything that's actually going on this planet.
They thought they were the big brains, and then as it turns out, they were also pawns.
Really, most of what happens during this movie is all the baby's fault, because the baby's really, like, strong-arming the mom into doing things and strong-arming Paul into doing things, and...
The baby drank the Kool-Aid before the baby could be out.
And during the fight, they did a really cool film thing, which in this giant wave of people that are all dressed the same in these beige outfits on this beige background, we're gonna have Chani put her blue bandana on her arm for the first time instead of her head so that you know
where she is and what she's doing.
which person you're supposed to care about in all this nonsense. And that's kind of...
It's a helpful visual aid.
That's kind of my whole fucking thoughts about the rest of the thing. So I'll let James kind of carry you through the end of the fight.
So, from the cave where Paul basically takes over the Fremen and really solidifies the fact that Chani does not want this, he becomes this sort of cult of personality leader. And they send a challenge to the Emperor and sort of bait him to come down. And it's just all the more better knowing that they don't know that Muad'Dib is Paul Atreides. There are suspicions, but there is nothing confirmed because no one's seen Muad'Dib and lived.
Emperor's daughter figures it out.
She does figure it out. She does not tell anyone, but she does figure it out.
Well, no, because the Jezebel.
The Bene Gesserit. Holy shit. Fucking remember. Your brain is so good, and it drives... I love you to death. It does drive me absolutely batshit crazy, knowing you have such an impressive and powerful brain to remember shit, and you can't remember the name of the fucking Bene Gesserit. It's ridiculous. It's 2 words. They're made up, and they're silly and simple. It's Bene Gesserit. And they're fucking assholes.
Black Nun tells her to keep her mouth shut.
Anyways, holy shit. They bait the Sardaukar, all of them, and the Emperor down to Arrakis, which scares the shit out of the Harkonnens. The Harkonnens call in the rest of the house leaders.
Because the Harkonnens don't know what's going on.
They're like, let's get a backup plan going in case this goes wrong for us.
Because to their only knowledge, the Emperor just showed up out of nowhere for no reason.
Yes. And as it turns out, it was maybe all supposed to happen according to prophecy that way anyways.
Maybe.
So Paul and the leaders of the Fremen formulate this plan to utilize a gigantic storm that's on the horizon to basically infiltrate and neutralize all of the factions that are present. And it works without flaw. It is
way too easy, in my opinion.
I don't know if it's easy, but it is so perfectly planned and executed that you'd think everyone else besides the Fremen are just fucking awful. And the only reason we know that they're not fucking awful is because they mopped the floor with the biggest, baddest house in the first movie. The Sardaukar and the Harkonnens smoked the Atreides. And the Atreides were supposed to be like the guys. And so in the second movie, you watch the Fremen, who are supposed to be these ragtag bitches, smoke the Sardaukar and the Harkonnens in like 20 minutes. It's fast, it's hard, and it's with nature, and it's crazy. It's incredible. Such a great sequence. So we get to see Paul storm in there. They use at least 3 nukes to blow up a mountain to allow the storm to overwhelm the shield of the Sardaukar ship. And also just to create general chaos. Paul gets to storm in. The Sardaukar that are like the honor guard in there do not do anything. Like, the advanced guard goes out to try and neutralize the threat. They all die. The remaining guys just sort of like take defensive postures and hang out and don't do shit. And then they are ordered to be killed and they continue to not do shit.
And then they die.
Then I guess they just die. We don't get to see it. But Paul rolls in, executes the Baron. No one does anything. Captures the Emperor and his entourage. No one does anything.
I did have a note about him killing the Baron. Like, honestly, he's doing the rest of the galaxy a favor. Like, no one stops him. Like, not even the Baron's nephew. Like, he just
like Fade just like lets that shit go.
He just watches like, and and like that's his like
He's a sociopath.
as most reaction as he has. Like no one actually gives a fuck about the Baron, who in his last bits of life was like trying to climb up to just sit on the throne briefly.
Yep.
Like it's no one cares.
The lust for power really got to his ass. Gurney leads the assault on Arakeen, where he gets to kill Robin
In zero
in the
struggle.
fastest duel that ever there was. Takes his ass out. The next day, the houses show up.
And Paul puts them on pause, saying he'll blow up all the.
Yes, no one know. Everyone saw Muad'Dib do it. Paul didn't reveal his face yet. He's still this sort of masked vigilante type. So the next day, when the houses show up in orbit, he has Gurney go get the prisoners, and we're gonna have the showdown in this room, right? So he goes and talks to Chani briefly. It's the last thing we see him say to her, and it's like him literally trying to like appeal to her. He's like, in any way.
If he could just shake her and be like, listen to me, that's basically what he was trying to do,
but in a polite way. He was like, I'll love you until I do not breathe, is basically what he says, which is a terrific sentiment. And honest as far as I know, but it's sort of like this foreshadowing of like, look, I'm about to go do some shit. Just know, I love you for forever.
Just know it has nothing to do with you.
Everything that's about to happen, I still love you for forever. Like, that's basically what he's saying. And she's just like, so...
Literally says nothing back and just like, meh.
She's just such a bitch about it. Which is, she hasn't bought in on the whole, like, Messiah thing. But at the same time, he's trying to appeal to her outside of that. And she still won't meet him for it.
And show her that he's, like, still him in there.
Right.
Like, this is all just a plan. Like, this is just what I have to do right now.
Yes. So, from there... the Emperor comes in and is still trying to have this big dick energy. And Paul turns around and he's like, well, guess what, bitch? I'm Paul. I'm here. And I'm Muad'Dib. And I'm going to fuck your whole shit up. And he threatens the Emperor's like, the houses will deal with you. And he's like, Gurney, tell the houses that if they roll down here, I'll use all our nukes on the spice fields. And it will become unusable. I'll just destroy the fuel center of the universe. Sure, fuck it. That's what we're doing. We're holding a gun at the universe. That's the play. That's Paul's grand plan, is he's going to hijack the seat of the Empire by holding a gun to the most valuable resource that there is in universe. And that is some big fucking balls. So he does that, threatens them. The Bene Gesserit try to step in a little bit, and he uses the voice on them. Because let's not forget, if there's one thing we do know about Paul, it's that he hates those bitches. He hates them like Kendrick Lamar hates Drake. He hates them with every fiber in Timothée Chalamet's small body. He hates those motherfuckers. He hates them so goddamn bad. And he doesn't fuck with them at all. Even when they try to step in on his big moment, he just yells at them with the voice. It's the only time he uses it, too. In the whole movie, he uses it once. And it is to tell them to shut the fuck up. Does he use it twice?
He uses it on his mom.
Isn't that a flashback to the first movie?
No. He uses it when she's like, you have to drink the water, like, you gotta do the stuff. And he's like, no. Basically is how that scene goes. Right before she goes down south.
I guess I missed it. I might have just forgot about it. But I guess also this instance of him using it is like such a big moment that it overshadowed the other one. Either way, it's a power he has that he so rarely uses, and using it in this moment is such an enormous power move. And everybody felt it. Everybody in the room. Even Chani was like, oh shit. So he demands the princess's hand as his pathway to the throne. And in exchange, he offers them nothing. Because he's like, the Emperor's like, you should bow at my feet. And he's like, you'll be lucky to leave here breathing. Because Paul does not fuck around. And after consideration of this proposal, Paul's like, I'm tired of wasting time. Stand up to me or choose your champion. And Fade is like, this will be my moment to ascend to the throne. I'm right here. Let's do this shit. And we get our duel between champions, in which Fade kind of takes it to Paul a little bit. Now, let's be clear. Fade's a bad motherfucker. He's like the guy for the Harkonnens. And Paul is the guy for the Fremen, but Paul's only been the guy for the Fremen for like 6 months. It's not a long time. Fade's been the guy for the Harkonnen for years. So, like, there's a skill discrepancy here. And Fade kind of gives it to him. He loses in the end due to some chicanery, but...
due to some, like, Arya Stark levels of chicanery, honestly.
Yeah, it's like, surprise, knife's over here now, gotcha. And that's how that goes. And Fade says his line, you fought well, Atreides, dies. And then Paul pulls a knife out of him, pulls another knife out of him.
Yeah, he's stuck twice.
And in all of his just anger, I believe in my whole chest that Paul survives purely off spite. And he stomps his way over to the Emperor, intent on killing that guy. He's like, fuck it, everyone's taking it today. And the princess steps in and is like, all right. Let him live and you've got your deal. And so he's like, great, here's how we'll do it. And he holds out his signet ring that was his father's and is like, you know what to do. And the Emperor decides, well, I guess we'll take our L today. And kneels, kisses the ring. The great houses radio in that they reject Paul's ascendancy to the throne. And he goes, all right, the Fremen are going to come fuck you up. And he sends everyone.
Autobots roll out is basically how that goes.
Stilgar asks, what do you want us to do? And he tells Stilgar, lead them to paradise, which is basically the call to go fuck their shit up. And so he and Gurney and everybody goes and fucks their shit up.
Except
for Chani, who's cranky. Especially because Paul demanded the hand of the princess in marriage. But also, in Fremen culture, it's not a thing to do political marriages. But where Paul comes from, that's how things work. So Paul really did try. He's in both cultures, and he really did try with Chani. He was like, look, I'm going to do a thing. Don't forget I love you for forever. You're my girl for forever.
She's really bad at listening.
She's bad at critical thinking and listening. But she's also young and not experienced in anything outside of the Fremen. So, you can see both sides. But only to a point. So now Chani fucks off, rides a sandworm out of spite. The fetus asks Jessica,
it's not a fetus anymore. It's like a whole child.
Well, yeah, I guess it is like a baby now. Asks Jessica what the fuck's going on, and Jessica goes, well, Paul just started a holy war, so that's happening.
And she's all happy about it too. She's like, the holy war is starting, and like...
Yep. She's like, everything is going according to plan. And the baby, we don't know how that reacts. And that's the end of the movie. Now, to this point, I don't know if they've greenlit a third, but I know there's more books.
I think they said they were going to make 4.
Are they going to make 4?
I think that's what I heard. I could be talking out my ass.
If Dennis Villeneuve doesn't do all of them, it's going to be a waste. Now, personally, I like the first one better, but I do really like this movie. It's a very, very good sci-fi movie. It's so great. Is there 3 confirmed?
He will only make 3 Dune films.
Great. We're getting another one. And that'll probably be the Holy War and whatever comes after that. He's got 3 hours to do it. We're totally accepting of 3-hour movies now. So yeah, I really fuck with this movie. America hates Dune and everything it stands for.
I didn't say that.
I'm joking.
I just would like
Answers.
So many answers. I would like so many answers. James threw his phone in frustration.
I did not. I dropped it because I'm bad.
I would just like answers. I would like clarification. I need like a little lore bot. Like,
we need a Kyle to sit next to you and explain everything.
Or a map pat. Really, anyone. Anyone will do that will sit here and go, okay, when I have a stupid question or a not stupid question, whenever I just have a question, they could go, blah, 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 and I would probably enjoy this movie more because I would understand what the fuck is happening most of the time.
Do you want to enjoy the movies more?
I don't know. It makes good content when I don't.
It does make good content, but I'm just wondering because, like, next time, like, if you want to enjoy them, we should sit down with our friends Bree and Kyle and watch them because Kyle knows everything and I know almost everything.
I mean, I've asked all my questions. They're all here. You can listen and rattle them off to the answers off to me. I don't have any more right now. What I am going to do is shout out to New Rock Stars here on YouTube. They did a breakdown, and their breakdowns really help me understand some more of like if you don't have like the widespread knowledge, then they kind of help you break down in-universe things that you might not know about. They've been doing that for the Marvel movies to get you ready for Wolverine, which has been
a treat.
Super helpful.
They've been great.
But yeah, no, that's Dune Part 2. We're gonna continue
our Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah,
Gallivant.
Our live chat has requested for Wonka. So more Timothy Chalamet coming your way, unless we record Fallout in between then. But the next movie will be Wonka. Thanks for being here. You don't have to type that fast. It's recorded. You can like listen to it and like get a note on your phone or whatever Android users
it's
have.
It's going to be a hot minute before both episodes are out. But the first episode, well, actually, you could just rewatch the video because it's going to be on the YouTube channel for forever. So if you really want to like catch back up on everything that we talked about for the last 2 hours, it's going to be on YouTube.
Yes, or
it's not the same. I have to do it. That's, you know, I get it. I get it.
Well, then maybe don't drive. No,
don't schedule things. Don't have a life. Just only watch us.
To be fair, we were supposed to record this last week, and they were fully prepared.
That is true.
To do this last week.
We were supposed to do this
last week. But I was dying.
We were both ill.
James was actually dying on Saturday when we were supposed to record this, and then I died the next day.
Recorded anything.
I died the next day, and then the simultaneous day, I called off work, which I never do. And then, yeah, it was a rough time. I just started feeling better Thursday. So it took me about a week. Don't get sick and pregnant at the same time is my advice for that. So yeah, we are still planning on recording Fallout. I wanted to do a lot more this past week because we did have some time. And the universe had other plans, as it seems to have had for most of this year. So we did not record Fallout. But we do have games that we actually want to play. I love that chat's just going.
Yep.
And I'm just not reading any of it. We do have games that we actually do want to play coming up. We have games that like we kind of have to play because, like I said, they're channel staples. Like It's Bendy, which is up here. And we got Nugget. Kindergarten 3 is coming out sometime. James found a game that he really wants to play. There's a game that I really want James to play. We have some stuff that we actually want to do as far as regular...
normal content.
I guess it's not normal anymore because we mainly do this, but old school. We'll call it old school. Retro CityWaves content. So we will be looking into that. I'm not going to give any dates or timelines or anything because most of those games aren't out yet. But be looking forward to some more old school gaming stuff from us.
Yes.
But yeah, no, that's kind of it. All right, what's happening over here? Baby was fussy. You need to correct me immediately. Well, you've missed that. That ship sailed like an hour ago. When I was just going around calling people the bald naked cult and the black nun cult. So, yes, you're prepared and you failed us. 100% kidding. Yeah, well, listen, if we could have recorded, we absolutely would have, but James...
I literally combusted.
He couldn't move that day. Like he was literally dying. Which I gave him a little bit of shit because at that point I had the same cold and I was rocking and rolling just fine. And then like the next 2 days I died about as much as you, if not worse than you.
Yep.
So I will take my man cold comments back from you because that
Yeah,
shit was rough.
I had it for a lot less time.
You did get better much quicker. You got like the speed run version of what I had.
Yeah, really.
Um. So yeah, we do apologize. I'm proud that you guys remembered and like watched it. Also, thanks for letting us use your Amazon to watch it. Because I thought we could rent it, and then apparently we couldn't rent it, and it's not going to be on HBO till the 21st. So we just kind of had a weird, awkward window here. But yeah, that's about that. I don't have anything else to say. You got anything else to say?
No, I got nothing.
Alrighty, until whenever. Bye.
Bye.